Now to an exclusive ABC 13 investigation. A former Amherst County Sheriff's lieutenant is fighting to get his reputation back.
It's been 3 years since Lewis Goldman resigned from a decades-long career in law enforcement. ABC 13's Noreen Turn spent the last several months investigating what he and others believe is a dishonest report that ended his career.
Well, Mark and Danner, this right here is the incident in question. Just 13 seconds in time, starting when that SUV comes to a stop that put an end to then Lieutenant Lewis Goldman's career, all thanks to something known as a Brady letter.
So this is RJ, that's Sam Bryant, that's me, this is Melissa.
This is video at Amherst County High School on April 3rd, 2021, during a COVID vaccination clinic. Lieutenant Lewis Goldman worked as a school resource officer with the Amherst County Sheriff's Office, but on this day, he's helping with traffic.
This is Melissa pulling up.
Okay, you're still back here at the curb?
Yep.
Melissa is Melissa Carver, wife of Commonwealth's attorney Lyle Carver and daughter of then Sheriff E.W. Vire. It had been prearranged with the Director of Public Safety at the time, Sam Bryant, and Nurse Blair Payne for Melissa to get her shot in the car due to a medical condition. But both Bryant and Payne say Lieutenant Goldman wasn't informed.
She pulled up, identified herself as Melissa Vire, which is her maiden name. Then she laughed and said, "I mean Melissa Carver, and I'm here to get my second shot, my second vaccination." Everybody who pulls up in the drive-through, we're always asked, is there anything preventing you from walking in the building? Which I asked her, and she said, "No, I've got my first shot in the car. I'm getting my second shot out here too."
Goldman says at that moment, Nurse Payne shouted from inside the front door that she's got it, so he turned around and walked inside.
And then next thing you know, the captain shows up front and says, "We're going to go to the office, have a conversation." That's all he said to me. He said the road deputy was coming to relieve you.
But you had no idea what was happening or what this was about?
No.
Not even an inkling?
I did not. Didn't know anything.
Eventually, his superiors revealed there'd been a complaint lodged against him, and he'd be on administrative leave while they investigated. It wasn't until the following week that his captain, Jewett Reynolds, told him what it was about. Goldman recorded that meeting.
A complaint has been received about the manner in which Lieutenant Goldman talked to Ms. Carver and his actions which appear to be outside the scope of his authority and expertise.
Reynolds told him that witnesses described the interaction as a battle, claiming Lewis looked in the car to question whether she could walk.
What in the world were you thinking to dig your heels in for somebody that you work for as a child? I don't understand that. I really don't. There's nothing in my brain that goes, this is a good idea. You have the two top law enforcement officials in this county that it is one of their most precious possessions. Why would you choose to have that interaction with her?
We're supposed to treat everybody the same. So if I'm asking every person that drives up if they have an appointment or if they have anything preventing them from walking in, I don't understand why I would not ask her the same question.
About 2 weeks later, Major Eric Elliott called him into the office, which Goldman also recorded.
I am going to promote you because I think this is something that's very serious. And whether you believe it or not, or however you think, it's not about, again, being at the sheriff's door or Lyle's wife, okay? It's about, it could have been any other citizen.
Elliott also reveals who made the complaint, Melissa's husband, Lyle Carver, who wasn't there on the day in question.
Lyle was hot, period. He was livid, and he was the one who contacted us. He was the one. And like I told you, I'm not out to get you. I don't have no reason to get you. But I feel like I got to do the right thing.
Goldman was stripped of his rank and sent to work in the courthouse. Soon after, Captain Reynolds finished his investigation report, and his then-girlfriend, now wife, Deputy Commonwealth's Attorney Amber Drumheller, writes a Brady letter for Lieutenant Goldman. A Commonwealth's attorney is required to write a Brady letter if an officer has proven himself to have been dishonest or biased, which can then discredit his testimony in court.
I was accused of not telling the truth with my interaction with Melissa. So that whole 13 seconds totally ruined my 32 years of my career.
When he was presented with the letter, Goldman says he was never shown any evidence, witness statements, or recordings, or even given a copy of the letter. The following week, he resigned. That could have been the end of the story, except 2.5 years later, a new sheriff took over.
He said, Sheriff, what happened to me it's wrong. I did nothing wrong.
Sheriff Jimmy Ayers says Goldman expressed interest in coming back to work at the sheriff's office, and Ayers wanted him back. He'd worked for him before.
And have you ever known him to be dishonest or unfair with the public?
No, ma'am, absolutely not.
But the Brady letter would render Goldman useless as an officer, so the sheriff examined Goldman's file. Only there wasn't much to examine.
No written documents that we can find, and there were no recorded statements. There was merely just a hand-typed, basically a memoranda-type notice is all was done as far as any report.
That and the surveillance video. So one by one, Ayers' second-in-command, Major James Begley, re-interviewed and recorded everyone they saw in the video. Among them, the public safety director at the time, Sam Bryant. But his interview with Begley wasn't matching up with what Captain Reynolds had written in his report. I walked through it with him myself.
Sam Bryant was present at the exchange and believed the situation was deteriorating, so he stepped in to intervene. Do you recall that?
The only thing I did was provide comfort for this person for the immunization, and my time with Lieutenant Goldman and the patient before the immunization was very brief.
Okay.
It was probably seconds.
Yeah, looks like you just passed each other.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah, and you didn't come running over because you heard something.
No, I did not.
The report also says Bryant claimed Melissa Carver's medical situation became so bad at that point that she quickly lost consciousness, so Bryant and Nurse Payne had to revive her.
Do you recall ever during these clinics having to revive anyone who had gone unconscious?
No, we didn't have to resuscitate or really provide emergency care to anyone.
Nurse Payne confirmed the same to me via text message. In the reinvestigation, Major Begley also spoke with the two women standing next to Lieutenant Goldman as Melissa Carver pulled up.
Did you at any time during this vaccination clinic or at the time this vehicle was there, do you remember seeing any inappropriate behavior by Lieutenant Goldman or Deputy Pugh for that matter?
No. I mean, I felt like it was a very, I felt like everything was nice and, cordial.
Though both told Begley they'd been questioned in 2021, Reynolds' report did not include their statements.
Ethically, it stinks. I have no problem saying that. When you're dealing with the alleged Commonwealth attorney made the initial complaint, it involved the Commonwealth attorney's wife, it involved the sheriff's daughter, it involved the deputy Commonwealth attorney and her boyfriend at the time. It stinks. It absolutely stinks.
In May, Sheriff Ayers sent a 4-page letter to Commonwealth's attorney Lyle Carver, the person who lodged the complaint. Ayers' letter lays out all their findings and contradictions with Captain Reynolds' report.
Through our investigation, we were able to find that some of the facts presented in the report were absolutely incorrect.
He also points out that the entire investigation went against department policy.
It wasn't followed at all. Absolutely none. There was supposed to be a written complaint. That was never done. It was supposed to be investigated by a person that had been through investigation, IA investigators classes. That wasn't done either.
6 months since he sent that letter to the Commonwealth's attorney, Ayers says it has gone unanswered.
So I had asked for that letter to be rescinded, as it rightfully should be. I followed up about a month later with an email asking if he had reviewed it and had any comment about it, and to this day have still not heard a response.
Sheriff Ayers is now working with lawmakers to try to change the law on how these letters are handled to allow for due process for the officers. I did call Lyle Carver and asked if he's considering revoking the Brady letter based on the findings of the new investigation. He told me, "I don't know the truth and I will never get the true story." When I urged him to enlighten me, he said he can't talk about it and he didn't agree to an interview. I also spoke with Amber Drumheller. You can read what she had to say in the extended story at WSET.com.